If you struggle with procrastination on a day-to-day basis, you have a system problem and not a laziness problem. Everybody says that procrastination is about laziness, but the truth is it's not, and deep down you probably know that too. It's not that you don't care or don't want to work. It's just that your brain freezes. You know you should start, but you don't. You sit down to do something, but somehow hours pass. You tell yourself you're tired or you'll start in 10 minutes, but nothing happens. And now the day's almost completely gone. The reality is our brains are wired to avoid discomfort. That's what procrastination is. It is avoiding discomfort by definition. So procrastination is not just a bad habit or laziness that you deal with, it's a system problem. So when you begin to change your day-to-day systems, you begin to change how often and if you procrastinate at all. So how do we fix the procrastination problem? It's not just telling yourself to try harder, it's trying to work with your brain and with its systems instead of against them. So in this video, I'm going to share with you guys 5 weird psychology tricks that help me beat procrastination, and honestly, they are way easier to implement into your daily routine than you might think. If you've ever looked back on your day and thought, what did I even do today? This video is for you. So let's hop right into it. The first thing that you need to do is figure out why you're procrastinating. You are not procrastinating because of the task in front of you. You are procrastinating about the emotion tied to it. What if that emotion is being overwhelmed, being stressed, having anxiety, or just straight boredom from what you're about to do? That's the emotion that you are avoiding, not the task itself. When you do this, it activates your logical brain, which is your prefrontal cortex. This psychology concept is called affect labeling, and once you label your emotions, it gives it less power and you get more control over your emotions yourself. So once you can identify the emotion that you are feeling, I want you to do something. If you are alone and if you can, I want you to say the emotion that you are feeling out loud. And when you say it, or when you say it in your head, I want you to validate what you're feeling. You need to validate what you're feeling and not judge yourself, because that's going to start a whole other conversation that's not for this video. But if you can label and call out the emotion and then proceed to feel it and validate it, you can start to make a lot of progress towards not feeling these emotions when it comes to these tasks again. So what you need to do is understand that motivation is not going to come until you get the mental clarity of what's going on up here. So if you can begin to understand those emotions, then you can start to feel yourself get motivated over things. So what I'm trying to say is you're not stuck because you're procrastinating or you're lazy. You're stuck because your brain is protecting you. So what you need to do is figure out what your brain is protecting you from, what emotions are tied up in whatever task you're about to complete, and once you can identify those emotions, then you'll start to feel the motivation come along to stop those emotions and start completing the task that you need to complete in your day-to-day life. So in this second tip, we're going to focus on a trick that you can use in the present and immediately implement and change your life a lot when it comes to this procrastination stuff. So what you want to do when you feel yourself procrastinating is the 10-10-10 rule. This 10-10-10 rule basically allows you to look into the future and see how you're going to feel in different moments to make you push past the procrastination feeling, because you don't want to feel like crap in 10 hours or 10 days or whatever, right? So when you feel this feeling of procrastination, what you need to do is ask yourself, how am I going to feel about this in 10 minutes? How am I going to feel about this in 10 hours? And how am I going to feel about this in 10 days? So in 10 minutes, you will probably feel about the same. In 10 minutes, you're not going to change much. You're still going to be sitting there scrolling on your phone, wasting your time and feeling bad about the fact that you're wasting your time, but you're still going to be scrolling, right? Cool. So in 10 hours, however, you can begin to see that you're not going to be feeling very good. You're going to feel like, oh crap, I've wasted my entire day. If the first time you feel this procrastination is in the morning, 10 hours later, you're going to be like, oh, so I've wasted my entire day. I've not accomplished any of the tasks or any of the assignments or whatever I needed to get done. So you're going to start feeling that regret. But more importantly, if you look at in 10 days, you can think about, am I even going to remember what I'm scrolling about right now and what kind of content on the internet that I'm consuming? You're not going to remember that. You can't remember TikToks that you watched yesterday, much less in 10 days. So they're very useless for your life. But in 10 days, if you didn't procrastinate and you knocked out the assignment 10 days before it was due, when it is due a couple days or 10 days later for this specific example, you'll notice that you're actually super happy that you did that, because now you don't have to worry about it. Now your life is easy. So what you want to do to begin to beat this procrastination problem is to look 10 minutes in advance, 10 hours in advance, and 10 days in advance. So what this trick does for your brain is it forces it to zoom out. Your brain is very biased towards the present and how it feels in the now. It's not very wired towards long-term goals that it can't feel the dopamine from immediately. So this forces it to zoom out and begin to think, oh yeah, I need to go ahead and do this so that I don't have regret 10 days from now, right? Your brain can begin to see that procrastination feels good in the moment because you're going to continue to get that dopamine from scrolling on your phone, but it's going to cause a lot of regret later. Less regret equals more progress and a more happy and sustained life. And that is the goal with beating procrastination. Less regret, more happiness, more accomplishments, all that sort of stuff. So the third trick is super practical and has really helped me out a lot. It is all about procrastinating on purpose. Your brain still wants to scroll and snack and all of that sort of stuff, and you don't want to completely fight it. You just want to delay it. So instead of saying, no, I'm not going to scroll at all, say I will scroll and I will snack and I will procrastinate later. What I want you guys to do is to literally schedule your scrolling time and your free time times. So you guys know in my last video, I spoke a lot about the fact that I like to schedule my recording times. I like to schedule my work on my assignment blocks or whatever. I also schedule my free time. That way my brain has psychological permission to know that at some point in the day, you get to relax and scroll and snack and do whatever you want. We procrastinate more when we feel like we're depriving ourselves of social media, and in the brain, it's depriving your brain of that dopamine that our phones give us. So instead of completely depriving it and making you feel like you're having it completely deprived from you, just delay it. Don't deprive it, delay it. You're not completely eliminating the reward of scrolling or whatever, you're just delaying it, and this gives your brain something to look forward to after you work for a few hours. So what this does is it turns procrastination into a reward instead of a roadblock. It makes your life easier instead of making procrastination actually hurt you in your working cycle. It lowers the emotional resistance that your brain has when it feels like it's not being punished. It feels like it's going to be rewarded just eventually. So the same way that I've told you guys to schedule out your work blocks, because when you wake up in the day, your brain knows, okay, at 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. I have to work on assignments. But if at 9 p.m. you have a thing that says then I get to relax and scroll, your brain will also look forward to that. So then there will be very little barrier at 6 p.m. when you sit down to work on your assignments, because your brain has known it's coming the whole day, and you have time scheduled to procrastinate after. If you tell yourself you can focus now and get dopamine later, that's a lot better on your brain than saying focus now or else. Like you literally don't have anything to do except work on your assignments. That's not healthy for our mental headspace. So this whole trick is just about managing your impulses and not completely eliminating them. Procrastination and all that sort of stuff is not about trying to be super hard on yourself. Same thing with self-discipline. It's not about being super hard on yourself. It's just saying that for my future, I'm going to say that yes, I can scroll sometimes, just not right now. Right now, there's more important stuff to focus on. And once you can shift yourself into this mindset, your procrastination problem will go away. So the fourth thing that you want to do is to make distractions annoying. Make it annoying to procrastinate. Your brain will take the easiest path, whether that easiest path is you being productive and working, or if that easiest path is you scrolling on Instagram. So if distractions are super easy and super available to you every single time, that's going to be the path that you take more often than not. So the trick with this is to make those distractions hard. A very easy example to say of this is sign out of your Instagram account when you're not on Instagram. That way you have to go in and log in every single time that you want to get onto Instagram. This adds a barrier to when you see that sign-in screen, you're going to be like, oh yeah, it's actually much easier for me to just start my assignment than to sit here and scroll and do this. It adds just a little bit of friction between you being completely distracted or working. And that little bit of friction gives your brain time to realize, oh yeah, I probably don't need to scroll right now. I need to focus on my assignments or the task or whatever you have to do. So other ways you can do this besides just signing out of apps is another thing I've talked about a lot is me putting my phone on red light when I want to get productive. When you get productive, turn your phone on red light. This makes your phone less stimulating, allowing you to not want to be distracted on it because there's no colors to look at when your phone is on grayscale or red light mode. And these things that you implement onto your phone to make it less distracting are not permanent things. They're just little bumpers to make it to where in the afternoon or in the morning you work instead of just scrolling all day and all night, you just scroll at night when you schedule it. So even adding this 10-second barrier of your time limit or logging out of an app or whatever is enough time for your brain to not want to do it anymore and move on to the next thing, because our brains are always looking for that next hit of dopamine. And that next hit of dopamine, if you schedule it correctly, will be you finishing the big task or the big assignment that you need to finish. So the goal of this whole trick is not willpower, it's just environmental design. You want to make distractions in your life annoying enough that it's easier for you to just get started on the stuff that you need to get done compared to scrolling on TikTok for hours upon end and doing nothing with your life. If you begin to make these changes, things will come much easier for you and you'll find yourself a lot less distracted all the time and not just during your work blocks. So the fifth trick is what I like to do right before I start getting productive every single time, and this is a brain dump. Sometimes procrastination is not about the emotional barrier that you may have. Sometimes you might just have way too much mental clutter up here, and that can be enough to stop you from starting. If your brain is trying to juggle all these tasks that you have to get done today, or 10 tabs on your computer screen or whatever, it might just do nothing and just stare at it blankly and be super overwhelmed. So the solution to this problem that I'm still actively working on, but the solution is brain dumping. This is not journaling where you're giving out like, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that. That is awesome stuff. I love journaling. That's cool, right? What this is, though, is you just dumping everything that your brain comes up with onto a piece of paper. It's a word vomit. I've heard a lot of people call it that before as well. So when you write everything down, write every single thought that comes to your mind, even if they don't fit on a piece of paper together, because they might not. Anything that comes, write it. The point is not for this stuff to be organized, it's for it to be external and no longer up here. When it's all written out, it feels smaller, cleaner, and a lot less overwhelming, and that's what's important. And then what you can do once you do have it all out is begin to try to sort it. What actually is important that just came out of my mind, what can wait, and what just doesn't even matter at all, and now that I see it on paper, I'm like, okay, that thing is not important in the slightest. This will help you focus on what actually matters in the present and not all the anxiety that happens in our brain on a day-to-day basis. So all of these tricks work for one reason. They target your brain's reaction to the discomfort. Like I said, procrastination is not about being lazy, it's about your brain responding to whatever discomfort it is feeling about the task that you have to get done. So instead of trying to push through all the feelings with guilt or brute discipline, you can use these tricks to create just enough mental leverage to act without force and without burnout. These are all the psychological tools that I use when I feel mentally blocked. But if you want a full system to prevent procrastination before it even starts, I have a solution for you. It's in part 1 of this series. The video is called How to Trick Yourself into Not Procrastinating, and it breaks down the schedule, the habits, and everything I use on a day-to-day basis to trick myself into not feeling procrastination in the first place. And if that interests you, click right here to watch it next. I promise you it will be worth it and it will change your life.